Hayden Hackney is not the player who makes the whole fan base lose its head on announcement day, but that is exactly why this one is dangerous, because Hackney has not come from nowhere. Over the last 3 years, he has gone from Middlesbrough Young Player of the Year to Championship Team of the Season to the current Championship Player of the Season. So this is not a random Championship midfielder. This is a player whose stock has been rising year after year. And now, just as Spurs, Everton and Palace start circling, reports suggest United may have cooled their interest. That should worry every United fan, because this is how the Mateus Fernandes story started. Are United about to pass on the kind of player they will be forced to buy for £80 million in 12 months? So stay with me, because there are 7 parts to this story most people are missing. The Mateus Fernandes warning, the cooled interest myth, the hijack danger, the Senne Lammens blueprint, the tactical fit, the Kobbie Mainoo question, and the £80 million regret United cannot afford. Before we go deeper, hit like and subscribe if you enjoy these United breakdowns. It really helps the channel. And drop your take in the comments below. Is Hayden Hackney a big enough name for Manchester United? Part 1. The Mateus Fernandes warning. United fans have already seen this movie before. The 20-year-old midfielder stood out in a struggling Southampton team. United could have signed him for less than £40 million, and they didn't. 12 months later, the same player suddenly now costs over £80 million. That is exactly why Hayden Hackney should make United nervous. Because this is not about whether he is the glamorous name. He is not. But that was the point with Mateus Fernandes as well. The smartest move is spotting the player before everyone else feels safe enough to call him obvious. And that is where Hackney starts to look dangerous. Because right now, people can still dismiss him. He is just a championship midfielder, not proven at the top level. But that is exactly how value hides. By the time everyone agrees the player is Premier League ready, the price has already doubled. That is the mistake United cannot keep making. They cannot keep waiting for other Premier League clubs take the risk, develop the players, prove the level, and then come back 2 years later when the same player costs £70 million or £80 million. That is not smart recruitment. And with Hackney, this might actually be the start of another regret. Part 2. The cooled interest myth. Reports say United have cooled their interest, but what does that actually mean? Is it a genuine pass, or is it negotiation? Because clubs do this all the time. They step back, they brief that the price is too high, they make it look like they are moving on. And sometimes, that is just how you stop the selling club from thinking you are desperate. So maybe United are being smart, maybe they still like Hackney. Maybe they just don't want to get dragged into an auction. But there is another side to this, because sometimes cooling interest is not negotiation. Sometimes it is hesitation. And United have been guilty of that before. They spot the player, they like the profile, they know the price is manageable, but because the name does not feel big enough, they wait. Then another club moves. The player gets Premier League proof, and suddenly United are no longer looking at a clever £25 million deal. They are looking at an £80 million problem. That is the danger with Hackney. If United genuinely do not rate him, walk away. No issue. But Michael Carrick knows him, trusts him, and still wants him. United should be careful. This could age very badly. Part 3. The hijack danger. We've all seen this pattern before. 12 months ago, West Ham moved fast for Mateus Fernandes, while United hesitated. Now Everton could be trying to do the same thing with Hayden Hackney. And it is not just Everton. Spurs are there as well. They know what happens when you wait too long on these young English midfielders. The price does not stay friendly for long, and Palace have already played this game perfectly. They signed Adam Wharton from Blackburn for around £18 million just over 2 years ago. Now look at the conversation around him. £100 million. Elite clubs watching. That is what happens when a smart club moves before everyone else feels safe. That is the lesson United have to learn. Because the hijack danger is not just missing Hayden Hackney. The danger is watching another club take him, prove him, and then suddenly, United are trying to buy the same type of midfielder for 3 times the price. So when other clubs are circling Hayden Hackney, United should ask one simple question. What are these clubs seeing that we are about to ignore? Because these clubs are not chasing him for fun. They are chasing the next jump, and United cannot keep arriving after the jump has already happened. Part 4. The Senne Lammens blueprint. Last year, United looked like they had finally learned. Most fans wanted the bigger name. Dibu Martinez, World Cup winner. A goalkeeper with aura. So when United went for Senne Lammens instead, a lot of people were underwhelmed. Some thought he was just a backup keeper. Some thought United were mad to ignore the character and experience of Dibu Martinez, but that is where the club got it right, because they were not buying the biggest name, they were buying the right profile. And once Senne Lammens actually played, the conversation changed very quickly. Suddenly, it was not about whether he was glamorous enough, it was about how well he fit what United needed. That is the Hayden Hackney argument. A player people only fully understand once the team starts functioning better because of him. And United have done this with younger players too. Hayden Hackney came in for around £1 million. Now, if United tried to buy that same profile after first team proof, you are talking serious money. That is the whole lesson. The best deals do not always feel obvious in the moment. Sometimes they look small. Sometimes they look underwhelming, but 6 months later, everyone suddenly understands. So with Hayden Hackney, the deeper question is simple. Can United afford to ignore the functional signing while chasing the glamour signing? Because the midfield does not only need stars, it needs technical security, it needs rhythm, it needs players who make the whole thing work, and Hackney might be exactly that kind of signing. Part 5. The tactical fit. In a Michael Carrick team, the midfield is not just a flat two sitting in front of the defence. It moves. One player holds, one player shows, one player drops in, one player steps up, and that is where Hackney fits. He is not just a safe passer. He is the rhythm player who helps the whole structure breathe. When the centre-backs have the ball, Hackney is not hiding behind the press. He drops into pockets. That matters because Carrick wants his team to build with control, but still attack quickly when the gap opens. And Hackney gives you both. He can receive under pressure. He can invite the press and hold the ball for that extra second. Then, when the midfielder jumps at him, he can turn out, carry through the gap, and suddenly the whole pitch opens. That is the bit people miss. Hackney does not just pass away from pressure, he manipulates pressure. He almost tempts teams to press him, then escapes and turns it into territory. That is why the progressive carrying, take-ons, and number of touches matter. Because he is not just getting on the ball for the sake of it, he is moving the opponent around. And he also gives you rest defense. When Carrick's fullbacks push high or invert, and the attacking players flood forward, someone has to sit in that dangerous middle zone. Hayden Hackney does that. And from that left-sided pocket, he gives you another weapon as well. He can receive facing forward, slide passes into the half space, or switch the play quickly to the far side when the opposition overcommits. That is exactly the kind of midfielder United have lacked. So if Ederson gives United the engine, Hackney gives them the rhythm and the control. And in Michael Carrick's system, that is not a small role. That is one of the roles that makes the whole thing work. Part 6. The Kobbie Mainoo factor. Does Hayden Hackney help or hinder Kobbie Mainoo? Because on the surface, you can understand the concern. Both like the ball. Both can receive under pressure. Both are comfortable in tight spaces. Both want to play football rather than just run around kicking people. So some fans will ask, do United really need another technical midfielder? But I think that is the wrong way to look at it. Because the problem last season was not that United had too many players who could look after the ball. The problem was they did not have enough. Too often, Kobbie had to be the calm one. The player who received under pressure. The player who turned away. The player who carried the ball forward. The player expected to make United look composed when the rest of the midfield was rushed. That is too much for a young midfielder. And that is where Hackney could actually help him. Not by replacing or blocking him, but by sharing the load. If Hackney comes in, Kobbie is no longer the only midfielder who can take the ball in ugly areas and make the game feel calm. United would have another player who understands rhythm, another player who can receive under pressure and can keep possession moving without panicking. That gives Carrick options. Some games Kobbie starts, some games Hackney starts, some games they play together. And if they do play together, it is not impossible. One can sit deeper and control the rhythm. The other can step forward, carry, combine, and break lines. That is how serious squads work. Competition is not always a threat. Sometimes it is protection. Because if United are really building for Champions League football, domestic cups, injuries, form dips, and a long season, Kobbie cannot be the only answer. So the question is not Hayden Hackney or Kobbie Mainoo. The real question is whether United finally give Mainoo midfielders who speak the same language, and Hackney does. Part 7. The £80 million regret. If Hayden Hackney goes to Spurs, Everton or Palace, and he starts looking comfortable in the Premier League, this conversation changes very quickly. He is no longer Hayden Hackney from the Championship. He becomes the English midfielder everyone suddenly wants. That is when £25 million starts looking like a bargain United should have taken. That is when the same player suddenly becomes £80 million, and United fans are sitting there asking the same question again. Why did we not move when the chance was there? That is the danger. Not every smart signing looks exciting at the start, but that does not mean he is not the right profile. And sometimes, the biggest regret is not missing the superstar. It is missing the player before he becomes one. Because this could be the kind of signing United look back on in 2027 and say, we saw it, we knew it, and somehow we still missed it.